Thank you very much for tuning to this platform, one-on-one. Smith Owen Kaswawli, as Uganda heads to general elections, we have a lot to discuss in common for the good of our country, regardless of your political affiliation. I'm privileged to host one of the giants from Teso, one of the people who look at the issues at hand in Teso and in Uganda in general, or OKONOPEESA. We shall be discussing some of the factors that are likely to determine who will vote who in the forthcoming elections, more so in the Teso sub-region. Tim, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Greet the viewers.
Thank you very much. A good evening to our viewers.
Yes.
I'm more than delighted to be here on the show one-to-one. Yes. I've always been a very good subscriber, and I'm more than happy to be here today with you, my brother.
That's great. Yes. What's your general view about how presidential campaigns are moving on? So compared to other past elections?
So far, so good. I've not seen lots of challenges in as far as our campaigns being conducted. In that, I think at the beginning, when we're going through the nominations, were the few people who did not agree, or rather not agree with the decisions of the Electoral Commission, and we saw the likes of the presidential candidate for UPM being denied an opportunity to contest, I think because they lacked signatures. And we also saw our young, I don't know if they call him Katumba, John Katumba, plus the other one of too much English, all being denied opportunities. But I think it all adds up to how possibly they should have presented their credentials and then information. An electoral commission being a body that is governed with lots of law-making people. Of course, you expect them to really make proper decisions. So, in as far as presidential campaigns are going, I believe that there are a few issues that are occurring, and being taking on the objective path. Of course, we really don't appreciate possibly with how the presidential candidate of NUP is being handled. Yesterday I was seeing somewhere he was having a one-on-one with the police officers over the gazetted grounds that were supposed to handle his rally. And then we also had the police helicopter being parked there.
Kakumiro.
Yes, Kakumiro. So it is really something that is becoming a challenge, because also we don't want a scenario where there's going to be tension amongst us, the citizens, but rather let's have a streamlined view of how we do things. Being supporters, being mobilizers, I believe that they have enough capacity. And also the ruling government has a streamlined system from the district, from the national structure, from national up to the grassroots, that is parish to the village. They have very strong structures, and I don't think there's anything that should be a threat or should pose as a threat to them, apart from, of course, having the new generation, or they call them the Gen Zs, who have come on board to
begin with that, what does it mean that NRM has stayed here for some years? What does it mean that it's now dealing with the generation that has only seen one regime?
That is a challenge. That's a problem. We've always been talking about it in a few meetings that I've attended, high-level meetings, and some of the key, issues I've always raised, how to orient the young leaders to suit into a system that has been there for ages. We're talking about 4 decades now, 40 years, and a system that has been there from the times when our fathers were a little bit young and more energetic, youthful, to now us who were young by then, coming up to a youthful age. Of course, you know that there's new energy that is breeding. And with new energy, you expect new dynamics of politics in our atmosphere. So the resistance, or rather the friction between the old generation and the young generation is something that can easily spark an
Some people in
NRM
think that by the fact that these people have only seen one regime, it will be subject of them to support the regime, more so that they never saw what happened in the past.
You see, the problem
which they
also
term to have been evil.
The issue also comes in with the winds that are moving currently. You see, other countries have leadership, rotational leadership. And I remember at one point, I've always spoken about I've always spoken about rotational leadership. Rotational leadership is healthy in every economy.
In the party or the
in
country
the party,
at large?
It can be the party, even the country affairs. That's the national affairs. Why am I saying that? See, anything to do with rotational leadership comes in new ideas. People have a scenario where they want new ideas. But for NRM, I don't see any situation that should be hindering that, apart from a little bit of misinformation on how we have been handling information. You see, also information determines how far you go with leadership. If you are able to contain information, if you're able to contain the flow of information from within the country and how it leaks to the outside world, then it determines how far you go in leadership. Because
you seem to sound like the NRM party is suffering from the social media era.
There's been a little bit of misinformation, or rather,
with the generation,
that
understands it so much.
Yes, there's a generation that understands it currently, and then there's a generation that is trying to
cope up.
You can look at a scenario of the Nokia phones. The Nokia phones by then used to be one of the best.
Yeah,
and I remember the old generation used to handle and say, but when the evolution of technology came in through the new ones, now the Nokia is Nokia is on the other side trying to cope up. So also with leadership, there is no difference with how you handle.
Okay.
Leadership needs when you evolve. You see how Kenyan leadership is trying to change. It's goes from the likes of Jomo Kenyatta to the likes of Arap Moi, who were there, now to William Ruto, who's dealing with the Gen Zs. Now William
matches
Ruto,
with the generation.
Yeah, matching with the generation. Now William Ruto is the person that has lived through these, transitions, and he has also been mentored through the transitions.
When he was watching.
Yes, when he was watching, and then now he is part of a generation that understands information, that plays around with media as a form of psychology on anyone. So likely in Uganda, that is what we are facing as a country right now.
Okay, if I'm to be specific to discuss about Teso sub-region, I may say every region has its own issues. Much as a country, we have combining factors. But looking at Teso sub-region, what could be the main issues that are likely to determine who should be voted in these coming elections, more so for the position of presidency? What are the likely determining factors in this election?
You see, initially in Teso, the issue has been with cattle compensation. And you see every leader who has come out with the agenda of saying that we're going to promise you on how we shall be able to recover the cattle. And then you give him 1, 2 terms, even 15 years to be in power, and you'll never see him talk about cattle compensation.
That's at the level of MPship and local government.
Yeah, local government, and then the level of MPship. So we, as a young generation that is coming on board, are now looking at clear resolutions that should impact Teso sub-region. And I also don't want to speak, you see, what we adopt in Teso region should be the same thing that should be adopted in Busoga, should be the same thing that should be adopted in northern Uganda, rather all those other regions. In Teso, we have an issue where we are dealing with the young generation that doesn't have a meaningful purpose.
Let's first discuss about the issue of compensation. When you look at the 2025-2026 budget, over 80 billion shillings was allocated for compensation of people that side. Hasn't it so far impacted?
Most of that money has really not
even
been
before, we could hear about compensation all the time.
Most of that has not really had a lot of impact, as far as cattle compensation is concerned. I remember the president was there trying to resolve that issue, and we had one of our very vocal elders in the names of Acham stand up to speak to the president and told the president the truth, that you see, the problem is that we, the people on ground, are not receiving this compensation. The compensation, I think, is ending at a level where we also don't understand. So, Your Excellency...
So the issue involves middlemen?
Involves middlemen, because we have some law firms that have been tasked to identify these people, register them, and then verify the information, present it to Auditor General or office, and then from there information comes together with the compensation, and some of these people don't receive exactly that amount. I also remember in our own family we have lost some of this. We registered, but we have never been considered. And in case you register and say that the value of the cow that was lost is 1 million, what you might receive is below half or even a quarter of that money.
Really?
So people laid complaints to the president about the compensation. And I remember that the president tasked the vice president,
yes, Kalipo,
to handle that together with the stakeholders. Now we're talking about the elders of Teso, to try and see how we can come up with the lasting solutions to resolve this matter once and for all. So as of now, I believe that that issue is on the desk of the vice president. I don't know if she has already submitted a report to the president, but she's the one currently who's handling the matter.
And I may say you are hopeful?
We are hopeful, yeah, because you see, at the end of the day, you have to be hopeful that possibly there will be a solution, or rather, it is just another, paper tiger, rather campaign strategy. But we don't want to really put it to task that possibly it's another tactic that the government is trying to use. But we, as people from Teso, are trying to look at it as something that should be able to cut, rather to cut off that narrative that has been there for a number of years. Of because you see, every time someone talks about cattle compensation, it brings back memories. So we really don't. Past. Yes. So we are tired of that narrative, and then we want people to grow. Teso should not be a corridor that discusses things and then they end on table.
So I may say, at presidency level, it has not been a big determining factor, because time and then Mr. Museveni has been winning in Teso.
Yes, he has always won, and
maybe you are using it to determine who should be the local leader or who should be the MP.
You see, mostly during, this also comes in with our leaders, the current leaders that we have. Anytime they are nearing towards elections or other campaigns, they always to bring in the issue of cattle compensation. And I've seen that with the former member of parliament for, I think, Amuria or Kapelebiong. That is Honorable Cheng. He was talking about no cow, no vote. I've also seen that with
Can that
a
work
little
out?
bit. Yes.
No cow, no vote?
You see, the mindset of the common man is one that can easily be manipulated. And if an influential
leader... So if you package well that slogan...
If you package well that slogan, it's very bad. It can impact and it can create a very big disaster to you.
No cows, no vote.
No cows, no votes. So it is something that has been in the corridors within the region, and I believe that it is not something that anyone can easily toy around with, because if I carry this to a common man and I say that no cows, no votes, a common man is a person that will pick up and go and tell the rest and say we're not going to vote this government if we don't have this. So I believe that we are leaving it up to the vice president that has been tasked to handle this matter. And also, we want to see to it that these matters are resolved once and for all.
Okay. You're talking about the issue of the youths in the Teso sub-region. Regarding unemployment?
Yes, you see, that is one thing that we have entirely been trying to work on. And as the young generation from the region, we are trying to see how employment can turn out to become a very great factor for us. And when you look at Teso, it is just recently that we have begun looking at things that are projecting at industrialization. Initially, Teso has not been an industrial hub, but the fact that we now have a fruit factory, then we have a few factories that are, that are merging from within our Soroti industrial area. We also have medium, business enterprises that are being set up
medium enterprises
within, small medium enterprises that are being, set up by a few by a few people within the business community. We believe that alone is enough to impact on our youth, because you see, Teso has that issue. We at the moment are facing difficulties with drug abuse. We're also facing difficulties where young people are involved in immoral, rather criminal activities. How do we, as
is it
the
because
young
of
people,
idleness, not going to school?
Can be idleness, and then also our own, possibly the leaders within the communities are not impacting as examples to these young people. So when you hear there's a name, a famous name in Teso called the Coke. Coke is in English it's called termites. Okay. So you know what a termite does? A termite begins digging from the ground. By the time it comes up, then it has really messed up the place. So these are some of the vices that, as young people, we are trying to foresee in order to keep intact a generation that is going to come and impact.
But I think that one begins at family level.
No, you see, it also comes with the initiatives
from the leaders.
Comes with the initiatives from the leaders. If you're to look at other regions, lots of young people are engaged in activities that are productive. You wake up in the morning, but there's an initiative that has been formulated by a leader and it has been adopted by possibly some stakeholders, could be organizations, can even be government itself, that is coming up and then absorb that initiative to empower the young generation. We equally in Teso have young people that have risen up to speak and voice concerns the concerns of the common people.
But looking at the issue of unemployment among the youth in Teso, in New Teso as an agricultural area, but still you are having food insecurity in the region, whereby one would expect that these youths could be involved in agriculture, but only 27% of the population in Teso, the households have food, have food security, and around 80% of the people don't have food security in Teso. At least I know Teso was well known for crops like potatoes, wheat, guinness,
Yes, we still have this.
Could it be a good idea that this youthful, the youthful population is involved into agriculture to at least to earn something from there?
We still have these initiatives. We still have these agricultural kinds of schemes within Teso. The only problem is that most of the people have moved from having growing food for commercial into having subsistence kind of farming, whereby I'm growing food that is going to serve me as a family. So we still have millet and we still have sorghum that is being grown. But let me take you back far. In the 90s, Teso was known for cotton.
Yeah.
And when you're to go to Teso, you'll find we have ginaries.
So that was
Mukongoro,
cotton was in Teso, Bugwere, Busoga, around that place.
And the revenue cotton was generating by then was up to a tune of $20 million annually. Teso was not complaining. Teso was doing exceedingly well in regard to having a cash crop that was generating revenue for most of the families.
So you substituted
and some of our uncles and a few started using cotton. Teso has also been very good for some of these other, organic foods that we're talking about. We have potatoes, we have we have cassava,
Cassava, yeah.
but also when Naro came and then added in another 1 or 2 things, and then we have cassava that takes, I think, 3 months and is mature beyond 3 months.
GMOs.
Yes, beyond 3 months in the garden, it's already rotting. But the cassava by then was one that would take 6 to 12 months. And you really have very strong,
After harvesting, you could prepare kamukeke,
yes,
is it?
you could have very good yields by then. So we have a challenge because if you're to look at Serere district, that is where we have our agro institute, one that is looking at food security. We're also seeing that there is underfunding. You see when you are not facilitated, or when the funding is below the margins, of course you don't have to, you don't get the proper kind of yields or yields. You can't carry out the activities. Yes, that's the right word you have used. You can't carry out activities that should be able to impact not only where the institute is, but also other areas. We currently also had the government bringing in the initiative of oranges, because we had the fruit factory being set, and then they brought us oranges from OWC. The crafting was not really good, and the oranges, by the time we planted, it was the Kenyans who were coming to buy the oranges at very subsidized prices. Now the oranges the factory is using are oranges that are imported. Some of the oranges are not really up to the quality to be able to run that factory.
So you have changed to this modified one?
Yes, so there's also been some issues about that, because I think they were modifying a certain breed of oranges with a local one to see if they
Teso used to supply, because I remember visiting places like there was an agricultural center that site in Soroti, where they used to grow a lot of mangoes, a lot of oranges, but it's like you have substituted all that. But
mostly you don't look at those things these days. People are now focused into small activities. Even fishing these days is a little bit, there's kind of restrictions on fishing. So some of these are hindrances that have really impacted on the people. And then when you see people really not being so impactful and then being unproductive, that now leads to them demanding for new governance, or rather new rule of leadership and so on, which also now affects the policy making.
Talking about productivity in Teso, you realize that the levels of poverty are still high, like in the districts of the likes of Amria, Bukedea, Kumi. Poverty is really still high. If you go on the ground, besides what is being discussed by some of the leaders for political gains, but the reality in such districts is that poverty is so high. How have government programs like PDM impacted on the population?
PDM and Emyoga have come in handy, and we have seen 1 or 2 beneficiaries or benefactors out of these initiatives. The only problem the people of Emyoga had, the only problem the people of Emyoga faced was payment of the loans.
Taking it as a political token.
Now, yes, as a political token. And up to now, most of them that were beneficiaries of the Emyoga have not really used the resources to the best of what it was meant for. We also have circles that were created under Emyoga that have not really impacted on the common people. When I was in one of the areas, landing sites, I think that should be in Kagwara, one of the areas in Serere district. Kagwara. I saw some of these boats that were built under Emyoga circles, and they had all been abandoned. They're never being used. So when I inquired as a concerned citizen, they said, now, all this, how far with them?
Do you think there was enough sensitization about PDM and Emyoga to the population? Because you realize that you see some people getting this money for like PDM, and somebody goes in to marry a second wife instead of investing their money into other economic activities. Yeah,
that is one very big challenge.
Enjoying Rajono, enjoying what?
Some of these initiatives are very good. If you look at a country like China, if you look at countries like Netherlands and so on, they have all adopted this. Even India. They have all adapted this Myoga plus the PDM, initiatives, and they have impacted in their countries. You see, a Chinese can borrow from within a corporation, which is kind of like a government institute. Government owns 50% of the corporation. And that is something that a group of business people started together. A Chinese can borrow up to the tune of $20 million. He comes and puts up factories here. Now they're giving him at a 0% interest rate. And that money, what they only want is that they should have a 10% or 20% stake in the business. And that is going back. That is going back
to China.
To China.
Profit repatriation.
Profit repatriation, including the interests. Now that money is how government is being tasked here and said that this is a loan we have borrowed to invest in your country. And the government is giving tax incentives for 10 years. So within the 10 years, they have already recovered the money they should have loaned to the company, plus some parts of the profits are back into the country. Now, if a Myoga as an initiative would have been that is decentralized from central government to local governments, and then they say local governments should own into some of the initiatives that a Myoga money is being used for. You would have seen that there would be proper monitoring and evaluation of whatever that is being generated by these people. Even if the local government say, for example, say you have 10 businesses that are being facilitated by a Myoga, and that money, and in those 10 businesses, government has 10% stake. And this is how you sensitize the people, the local people, to become industrial and to become business oriented. You sensitize them that this is an initiative that government has started to empower the local communities. Now, government is also going to have 10% stake in your business. Run it the way you want. The only thing is that 10% of your business belongs to government. You find that there is not going to be any reckless expenditures. People will not divert the money to be marrying second wives and to be doing funny, rather dubious
enjoying all the
but
time.
Rather, it would be something that looks at building a business idea that possibly some group within the local community has come up with, should be able to build that from scratch into something that can become very strong. And you see, also as local government plus government, you really don't have to keep people confined within a certain society. If you can set up this method and system using a Myoga, using the PDM, but for PDM is different because PDM is that an individual has you also have the right to sign up for that money. That is with PDM. With the Myoga, we are looking at groups.
Yeah.
With PDM, you're looking at individuals.
So you feel that
that's why you're saying that with PDM, all the people, because PDM was looking at 37% of the poor population. Now, with the 1 million someone is getting, will run and buy a cow. Expecting that if this cow gives birth, I'm going to keep the young one, possibly sell of the one I bought, get a small profit, and pay back the same Myoga. But now, how is government?
The recovery process.
Yes, the recovery process. How is government prepared on the recovery process of that?
I think that's where the challenge
because
is.
There are also people who have borrowed that money and possibly used it, like you said, second wives, and then others possibly drink it off and so on, thinking that this is just an appreciation from government. How are you recovering money from those people?
Okay, that's
so it's a challenge that for us in Teso, we accept to deal with government, and we have always dealt with government. That's why you're seeing that government has overwhelming support. We only have a few areas that we have always seen resistance.
We are going to discuss the political. We are going to discuss the political part of it. But education is one of the keys that can help to transform society. I'm a product of Teso College Alloyed, and looking at the times where in such schools, Teso had schools that were among the leading ones in the country. Such old schools are nowhere to be seen in the performance lists for the best schools. How is education, impacting on the society in Teso? And what has really changed that the old schools, most of government schools, are not always heard of when it comes to better performance.
You see, that we go back to leadership. The current or the previous leaders should have been concerned enough to orient and then mentor the new leaders. But I'm very thankful to some of those traditional schools for maintaining quorum. Of course, you find that there's competition with the private sector and then these other new, mushrooming schools. But the traditional schools have maintained the norm. Anyone that passes through a traditional school has a way they reason and different. Think, and is very far from these other, private institutes. I'm not trying to demean the private, institutions, but the way private sector tunes you and then, makes you to understand how things run. And also for the fact that there's totally no strong restriction on how you live your life. In Teso College, you're a product of Teso College, I'm a product of Teso College. You understand how we're living by then. It's like you are in you're a person world, you're in another world. When you're a person that lives home, you know that when you come home, there's a collective responsibility of what you should be or what should be done. So, in as far as education is concerned, we have also seen that we have a new higher institute of education, that is a university that has just been that has just been become operational, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and it is entirely looking at science and technology. Now, with that alone, we believe that those that cannot be able to afford the schools outside, possibly Makerere University and so on, can initially be enrolled to start them. We also have, government has also given in scholarships for the best learners. And I believe that 1 or 2, of course, you see, in a society or in a community, you cannot impact on everyone. But of course, a few people are what you pick, and then those are the ones that also keep on having that. It's a chain.
So you feel the level
it's a chain of information.
Of literacy is increasing year after year?
The level of literacy is increasing. The only challenge that we have is how can we have that kind of I call it grouping. How do we put them into action? That is that I would pray that it will be my prayer to government that if we can have an industrial hub with a number of factories, and then also the communities can be tasked to regenerate some of these, methods that we use during agriculture, like the production of cotton for export. Because now, China alone has an overwhelming market for cotton. And the cotton that is rather produced now, in West Africa, is now where China is picking cotton from. So if we as the people, that government that can speak this, and then, see how government can put it into implementation, and then have communities get back to growing such rather historical crops. It is not something that has really been phased off, but it's something that impacts the community. That even as I grow food for consumption and then food for commercial use, I should also be able to grow food that should be able to make our own. We cannot be importing this
all the time.
Now, because now you see, for example, the cotton that we use to grow is now what we import to be able to make this. We're importing materials.
Oh, that's what Tim OKONOPEESA will miss me on as we discuss the state of affairs in Teso sub-region, more so as Uganda heads to the general elections. Going to discussing about politics. Previously, I don't know if trends have changed, but in Teso, if one had an NRM ticket, it would be an assurance that it would go through. How are the trends now? Has the opposition penetrated the Teso sub-region, or the status quo still remains?
Yeah, you see, the traditional norm has been there. The traditional norm has been there, and we are grateful that there has been consistency in how government has been trying to manage their voter turn-ups. That's the NRM government. But recently, I've seen when NUP released their list, and I saw districts as far as Kapelebyong,
With
and
the
then
candidates,
Amuria,
with the flag bearers.
and then Katakwi with the flag bearers, I really got concerned, and not concerned, not concerned in a negative way, but for the fact that you see, in everyday life, people evolve. And of course, you see, people always want new ideas. And when you see the shifts from the famous UPC now to a young party like NUP, and then we also have FDC still has its original trains in some of those urban settings. We have Soroti district and then Soroti city that has always been a hub for FDC. We had initially the former president, that's a boy, that's Patrick Cambrian, who had come from Kumi. He had dominated, but now we dominated that ground. But I'm also told
still influential.
I am told he's coming back
as an MP
for Kanyimu County. That is for MP role. So anytime from now, we might see images from nowhere that he has been nominated. But that doesn't hinder the fact that you see it is a collective effort. It is one way or another that everyone has a responsibility and everybody has a right
to choose their
whatever they want, political affiliation, but also people have that right to contest to become leaders. The only thing is that let's preach unity. Let's preach love and peace, that if we are leaders, we should not be cut out from the common agenda and then idea of serving the people. It is the people that want our support. These political parties come and go. We have seen UPC had very strong,
holds in
Teso, and it's no more. We had FDC with the Alice Alaso, Honorable Chola, Stefan, and so on, but they have also initially been dimmed off. We had the Patrick Cambrian, who was very strong, by then it was Kumi County, but it was dimmed off. We had the Honorable Dr. Appetite. So we have a few bits of these trends that in Mora district we have possibly one or two. In Soroti we have opposition, but the rest have been independents and then NRM. Okay.
So as we come to the end, one of the issues that is assumed to be affecting Teso sub-region is the disunity, rather cliques among leaders. That the top leadership in Teso it has got cliques. So and so supports so and so, the big wings. So isn't this really affecting what much development goes down to the common person?
Yes, you see,
the cliques among leaders.
It did not start today. It is something that has been there, I think, from our ancestors. When you look, there used to be people that would carry themselves in groupings. You find that my great-grandfather, together with your great-grandfather, are friends, but they are not friends to the other group. So when they go for a meeting, they sit this way, the other one sits there.
So they are kingmakers.
So they are kingmakers. And then what this group should say, the other one doesn't have a say. What the other one is deciding, this one has no say.
So it has been
it's something that my late father told me by then, I think, when because I come from a lineage where we used to have chiefs. Semeka Kungulu, we had my great-grandfather, the chief. My late grandfather was also a chief. So some of these are things I learned when we were having those experiences from childhood. But then when you look at the trends in this day-to-day leadership, then you begin looking at how the imbalances are imperable. What then should be done? It is now for the young generation to learn from the mistakes of the forefathers and then the current leadership, and then see how we can preach unity. That is why you see...
Who should spearhead that?
It's the young generation, those that have the capacity and those that have the networks, the connections. If you know that you have an influence within the leadership and then within the community as a young person, yours is to be a
that comes if you lack selfish interest.
Yes, selfish interest. So we as the young people, we are looking at how we can change that narrative, to work together, to have the hand of unity. I've seen it in the current, our sister, that is the current, the Right Honorable Speaker, has that bond with the Vice President, and of course they always share notes, and that is very good. But initially, before that, we used to see fights.
Yeah, cliques.
You will find that the former vice chairperson of NRM was locking hands with so and so, and that would come public, and of course that's not a good image.
So it is changing.
So it is changing, and of course, you see, you also believe in one thing, that in any transition or in any leadership spaces, you always expect that there are those that would want to have superiority or over others.
True.
So you want to feel that.
I think that is in every region.
It's in every space, in every political space.
When it comes to our place in Busoga, we also have SARS.
Yes. So I believe that it is just the way you understand human nature, and then you understand how the behaviors of human.
So, Tim, as we end, who are the current kingmakers in Teso?
Yeah, the current kingmakers are visibly there. We have the Right Honorable Speaker, who has a very upper hand in how decisions are fueled.
That's one.
She also has our people. We have the Vice President, who is equally very strong. We have the current Vice Chairperson of NRM. We also don't want to cut out the former Vice Chairperson here. He also has his own influence. So
the current chairperson.
The current chairperson and the former.
That is who?
That is Mr. Chodu Calvin.
And the former?
The former is a captain. Everybody knows him. He's the smartest man. Yes. So we just a cluster of people. But for me, the way I would look at such power is that if we're all united and we use that power to develop the communities where we come from, that would be very impactful. There is no reason for you to have power and then you cannot be very impactful to the communities where you come from. So that's the best. But otherwise, the names I have told you possibly are public images, but then we also have clandestine. We have undercover people
influencers
that you don't see in everyday life, but they are very, very, very influential, and they hold a lot of power when it comes to issues political, economically, and then socially. They're there.
Okay, as we come to the end of today's show, what would be your appeal to the people of Teso as we head to elections?
My appeal is that let's handle this election as a collective effort. Let's be united, and let's front an agenda that should rather attract government or any government that would win this election to come and then serve purpose for us as the people from where we come from. Other than that, we don't want to indulge in violence, because you see, there's life after politics. And at the end of the day, your neighbor remains your neighbor, and your enemy will always never be your enemy. But in politics, we don't have enemies. Yes.
No permanent friend, no permanent
friend, there's no permanent enemy. That's why they say that pull your friend close, but your neighbor closer. That is the language of politics. So I end by thanking my brother on one-on-one, a political talk show for this very great, interview. And I also want to urge you, my brothers and sisters from Teso, that this is the time for us to be able to choose the right leaders that will come and propel and then impact in us positively, so that we can grow as a community. Thank you very much.
That's Tim OKONOPEESA, a son of the Teso soil. We've been with him to look at some of the key factors that are likely to influence or rather determine who are those likely to be elected in the next elections. That's what we have for you today. Kindly like, share, and subscribe to the channel so that we keep sharing this information. My name is Kaswabuli Simeon Owen. I wish you all the best. May God bless.